Kingdom Hearts 3 was a legendary video game at one point in time. Not for what it turned out to be upon its release, but for its pre-release hype, joining this incredible pantheon of games that people clearly obviously wanted, but just never were going to be made. A game that would never seem to come out, as the Kingdom Hearts series kept spinning its wheels more and more, setting up more and more plot threads, but really truly unable to move the story forward in a meaningful way. But the hope of KH3 became real after it was announced as a PlayStation 4 game in 2013. However, a whole 6 years between the game's announcement and release from multiple compounding factors, from an engine switch partway through the game's development, to the growing pains of the development team making their first HD game in general, KH3 was a long ways off. But in the meantime, the developers decided to create a small side project to tide people over until 3's release. A game that would show the technology and the possibility of what KH3 could be come in due time. Welcome to Combat Comprehensive, the video series where I deep dive into video game combat systems. I'm Power Man. In this video, I'm going to be covering Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep 0.2, A Fragmentary Passage. 0.2 came included on the Kingdom Hearts 2.8 collection that came out in early 2017 on the PlayStation 4, and it acts as a sort of teaser for Kingdom Hearts 3, but not of Kingdom Hearts 3 directly, but a unique tale of Aqua in the realm of darkness set during the events of Kingdom Hearts 1. Now, notably, this game is extremely short, about 2 hours long, if you don't skip any cutscenes and you die somewhat regularly, at least from the multiple playthroughs that I have found. Now, you might be sitting here and thinking to yourself, wait a minute, is this guy gonna do a whole deep dive into a game that is 2 hours long? Yes, really. Now don't let the short runtime fool you, because 0.2 still is a real Kingdom Hearts game through and through. I mean, it's got the Utada Hikaru opening song with a nice big CG cinematic. It has leveling up, characters swinging keyblades around. The game even has a super boss. I personally find 0.2 really fascinating because its usefulness as a product has just completely expired a long time ago at this point. At least with a lot of other legacy Kingdom Hearts games that aren't the most current thing, they do have something worth revisiting, whether that's interesting gameplay, interesting mechanical systems that maybe aren't perfect but are interesting in exploring, maybe an interesting story, maybe at least funny moments that can make you chortle a little bit. But 0.2, just due to how short it is, it really cannot take any time to establish any interesting things about itself that makes it worth revisiting. But the really fascinating thing about 0.2, at least in my opinion, is just looking at it within the context of sort of the greater KH3 saga, specifically on the combat side. That KH3 really went through a massive evolution of its combat system from the base game to fully patched with Remind. And 0.2 provides a little interesting fragment of the early development and what KH3 is like. And you can even see little glimpses of Remind within 0.2, and yet they really don't manifest until much later in KH3's life, and that's really interesting to me. And the development team for 0.2 is the Kingdom Hearts 3 development team, at least it seems like from the credits. I mean, I looked and compared it to Kingdom Hearts 3, and at least a lot of the leadership positions are almost the same, and just a lot of the names just were duplicated across both. Now, my opinion on 0.2 is that I think obviously it very much passed and did its function of being a teaser for Kingdom Hearts 3 very well, just showing off the mechanics of the game and whatnot. But when you actually look at the combat experience of 0.2 with any amount of scrutiny, becomes very obvious that the game is quite bad in my opinion. Now, I think this is a bit of a tragedy actually, because I think the idea of a 2 hour, really interesting small Kingdom Hearts game would have been really cool to add to sort of the catalog of the smattering of Kingdom Hearts games, right? Even though it is a 3D game and it's more complicated, that doesn't really necessarily have to stop people, right? I think about games like Bright Memory Infinite, which is a first-person shooter that is maybe about like sub 5 hours, but it does a lot of really interesting stuff with that short runtime. And so 0.2 could have done something interesting that made it stand out in the Kingdom Hearts catalog compared to all the other games, but it's just so fundamentally like bad and not interesting that the only interesting parts about it is the suggestion towards future games. Well, I think a lot of these problems I am at least willing to forgive just due to its short runtime and its nature as a preview for KH3. When you think about it for a second, it's actually really embarrassing because 0.2 was the only brand new 3D Kingdom Hearts content in between the release of Dream Drop Distance and 3. So 0.2 being bad and being the only thing that Kingdom Hearts players had to chew on for 2 years is very embarrassing. All right, so things that you need to know before you play 0.2. Let's start with frame rate, I guess. 30 FPS is perfectly fine for this game, since that's what the original PS4 version ran at. 60 FPS is better, but I would not say is strictly necessary. And any FPS above 60, I think, is super omega overkill. Now, as for 0.2's difficulty, it's really hard to have a difficulty curve for a game this short. The lower difficulties of the game seem okay. Really, the only true hard stuff in the game is the optional boss rush that you go through, specifically on critical. But there are just some frustrating mechanics-related things that I will talk about later that feel like they spiked your difficulty artificially. Now, obviously, for a game this short, you're not really gonna have that much progression. You pretty much get almost all of your combat abilities in the starting area, and you do team up with Mickey at the end, which gives you one more combat option. Okay, let's get to the actual gameplay. Obviously, as a demo for Kingdom Hearts 3, it is very much in the same style as that game, being an evolution of the style of Kingdom Hearts 2's combat. And I'm sure if you're watching this video, you know how Kingdom Hearts combat works. You technically have a menu-based combat system, but in practicality, it is like an action-based game since mashing attacks allows you to cause combos, and really, you're only using the menu for your other secondary options in combat. You also have the Kingdom Hearts 2 style MP, sort of a normal magic bar. You can't really recover it without using items, and once you run out of MP, you have to wait a set amount of times for it to recharge. In general, you have a very limited set of options in combat. There's not really that much to do. Aqua has her basic ground combo, an aerial combo, a couple of spells that she can cast, her shot lock, an air dodge, a roll, a block, and an aerial block. That is it. Now, the overall feeling of Aqua as a playable character is just very strange and hard to articulate. Aqua's normal combo strings, both on the ground and in the air, just feel extremely stiff, extremely awkward, and extremely bad to use, in my opinion. One move in particular I really hate, and it's like this weird uppercut slash move that she does. There's an enemy that is in the air, and you don't jump. Aqua will do this like weird slash up towards the enemy, but it just has such a pathetically short range and just feels terrible to use. Part of the reason why I suspect that Aqua just feels so bad in general is that when you compare her here to her version in Birth by Sleep, I swear that they feel almost identical in gameplay. The only difference is that in 0.2, it feels like some of her moves have a little bit longer reach, and she can dodge or move a little bit farther than she can in Birth by Sleep. But then that feeling of playing a PSP game character is very sharply juxtaposed by all of the Kingdom Hearts 3 quality of life improvements. Stuff like being able to cast magic while moving, air dashing, aerial blocking. It creates this very bizarre feeling where your core combos feel very stiff and terrible, and yet when you're doing literally anything else in combat, it actually feels kind of good and like a contemporary PS4 game. I'm not a game animator or anything, so I can't tell exactly what's going on with why Aqua just feels so bad, but clearly they could have just done Aqua's animations in a different way that still stayed true to her original moveset, right? There are a lot of games from this era of PS4 that did this correctly, like say Monster Hunter World. I would say the only part of Aqua's core kit that does not feel completely awful is the command style of Spellweaver. Spellweaver basically acts as a temporary power-up, giving Aqua a much more fluid combo with a little more movement, able to spit out way more damage and access to a finishing move that makes her immune from damage for a little bit. 0.2 is also technically the introduction of the arrow system that is also in KH3. You do enough damage to enemies in a certain amount of time to start charging these little arrow icons. And once you charge past 3 arrows, you will just get a random bonus combat thing, which you can literally count all of those options on one hand. You get access to upgraded versions of Firaga, Blizzaga, and Thundaga. You can get access to the Spellweaver command style as a temporary power-up, and the Wayfinder command style once Mickey joins your party. There's also your magic spells, Firaga, Blizzaga, Thundaga, and Kiraga. Pretty self-explanatory for all of them. And casting one of the elemental spells will up your chances of acquiring the upgraded version once you charge all of those arrows. And finally, there is Wayfinder with Mickey. This allows Aqua and Mickey to teleport around, attacking various enemies and ending with a finisher. And it's definitely the best feeling command style in the game by far. It's also the best command style because it has a really cool interaction with the final boss if you can get it off. Now, I want to bring up something that is very much missing from 0.2, but it might not be obvious at first unless you really think about it. Because very infamously, at the time of 0.2's release, it was considered a ridiculously hard game by the Kingdom Hearts fanbase, and a lot of players struggled with it. Now, why is this the case? Well, as it turns out, a lot of the safety net type abilities that you would find in a regular length Kingdom Hearts games are totally absent in 0.2. Abilities like Leaf Bracer, allowing you to cast a healing spell without taking any damage while doing so, and Second Chance, the ability to get hit and still have 1 HP left before dying, are not in the game at all. And as a result, it kind of creates a very frustrating combat experience, in my opinion, that if you're the kind of player that plays critical mode, but is like still getting hit on the regular and needs that little bit of breathing room, it just feels like you're gonna be randomly dying out of nowhere for no real reason. Now, I know that there is a debate on whether abilities like this are considered crutches. I would consider myself a fan of abilities like these because I think giving people just even a little bit of breathing room on the harder difficulties to mess up is much more fair and makes hard difficulties enjoyable rather than being like masochist and annoying because they literally require perfect execution of every single thing. So if you are in that 0.1% of Kingdom Hearts players who plays without these abilities on critical mode, then congratulations, 0.2 isn't going to be a problem for you. To wrap this video up, let's talk about enemies and bosses, because there's really not a lot of them. In general, I think the enemy design is fine, but a lot of the enemies just feel way too agile and annoying to deal with for a character so stiff and mobility limited like Aqua. I mean, consider comparing the first world of Kingdom Hearts 3, which has almost all of these same enemies, versus what 0.2 does, and like zero ability Sora feels way better to fight some of these enemies with than Aqua. The only normal enemy that I had a huge problem with is the Neo Shadows. My goodness, man. These things can snipe you easily if you are not paying attention. I cannot tell you how many times I have gotten sniped by Neo Shadows, either from crawling out of the floor or jumping directly onto Aqua after I had blocked something else. And finally, let's get to the game's super boss, Zodiac Aqua.
Only your heart is hollow enough to be a demon's.
Zodiac Aqua is a way more complex and demanding of player skill enemy compared to anything else in 0.2 that she really feels almost out of place as a result. Zodiac Aqua has teleports, has attack patterns that you have to learn the order of and anticipate. You actively have to find her weak spots in order to get hits in instead of Zodiac Aqua just making herself open at the end of a move or a combo string. She even has guard-breaking attacks as well with the moves that has the red ribbons around it. So you really have to change a lot of your normal player instinct of just immediately guarding when she teleports. As a boss without any other context, Zodiac Aqua is only mildly interesting. Even within the Kingdom Hearts series, there are many other boss fights in this same sort of style that are way more interesting and dynamic and clever, but she's also not particularly terrible either. But within the greater context of Kingdom Hearts 3's development, she actually really stands out a lot. You can absolutely see the seeds of KH3 Remind's boss design within Zodiac Aqua. That it doesn't just require that the player be good at the game and understand the rules and just have fast reflexes, but it also is about a lot of fighting the ingrained habits that come with just playing an action game. You have to think smarter and be more proactive in combat in order to get a victory over the enemy. Overall, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep 0.2 A Fragmentary Passage is a fine game for the purpose that it served, but on closer inspection just completely falls apart. It's really only interesting within the context of how Kingdom Hearts 3's combat system changed and turned so dramatically in the course of its lifetime. But talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 in that much depth is gonna be a video for another time. And that's it for the video. Did you guys like this video? Hit like, comment down below about your thoughts about 0.2. Did you play it on release? Do you even play it if you're going through the Kingdom Hearts game for the first time? I'm really curious what people think about 0.2 in the grander scheme of things. And hit my Patreon if you want to give me some cash money, financially incentivize me to start making more videos like this in the future. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video, and have a good day.